some of you. This is a very special broadcast, and of course, we must pray. And prayer we must, this very evening and always going forward. And I will pray in the language of heaven, because Chukwukika Biama is in control of all that we have been doing and will continue to do until Biafra is restored and all the suffering indigenous populations and the damnable zoological republic are set free. Chineke na nke pụrụ ihe niile Chukwukika Biama onye na-efe na aja ha nsọ ya mma mgbe niile. Onye ọbụla na ya na-achị eluigwe n'ụwa na-agba akaebe ịhụnanya gị na ebere gị amara gị n'ọmịiko gị ebe ndị gị na-eze ebede ngọzi. Anyị wee na-etoghị agbanyeghị atụmatụ ọjọọ niile nke ndị iro, iwe nye anyị ndụ ala nke dị ndụ n'ụbọchị nke taa. Anyị wee na-asị na ịja mma niile otu niile dịrị aha nsọ gị. Onye ọ bụ naanị aka ike niile na ọ gbadara aka ya. Anyị wee na-akpọku gị na-asị gị na nke ọma ma anyị ga-ekele gị, nke ọjọọ ma anyị kelee gị. Anyị wee na-aja gị mma, wee na-eto gị, wee na-asọpụrụ gị n'isi ụmụ gị niile bụ ndị ikwu ndị wee eziokwu mgbe a kpọrọ ha ka ha wee chekwaa ala nsọ gị bụ Biafra onye nwe m na Chineke na ihe n'ikwuru anyị nkwa na o mekataghị ka ndị iro wee were ala nsọ Biafra onye nwe m na Chineke na nke bi n'igwe. Agbanyeghị atụmatụ ọjọọ niile nke ndị iro ma ndị na-agba mgbọgba ebe niile dị iche iche onye nwe m na Chineke nna ihere bụ nke ndị dị etu a n'ụbọchị nke taa. Anyị wee na-eto gị, wee na-asị onye nwe anyị na Chineke nna nke pụrụ m ihe niile, onye ọ bụ naanị ya na-azọpụta, onye ọ bụ naanị ya bụ okwu ya niile bụ ihe na amen. Anyị wee na-asị ezi ebube dị ngọzi na ọtụtụ na ịja mma na nsọpụrụ site n'ebighị ebi ma ruo n'ebighị ebi. Ise ise ise.
Welcome, my amazing viewers. Thank you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you are connecting from. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you so much, and remember, in this channel, we speak the truth, say it the way it is. We are not preaching hate speech. We are not talking against anybody. We are not standing against any tribe, religion, or whatever. What we are saying is the truth and nothing but the truth. We say live and let's live. And for those who have said we will not live, they will never live either. The only common enemy are those who are coming against us, who have come to kill us, to destroy us, and to take away our land. They are the people we are standing against, and we will continue to stand against them. It doesn't matter what anybody tries to do. It doesn't matter what anybody tries to say. It doesn't matter how politically correct you want to be. The single enemy that we have in that country called Nigeria are the Fulani Janjaweed. They are the enemies. They have come to kill, to steal, and to destroy. That is why we are fighting so hard to save our life. This is a question of life and death. That is why we are speaking up and fighting on day and night, day in, day out. We are not just fighting on the ground. We are not just speaking. We are praying along with our Sinamazin and Gam. If you have not joined the prayer, please kindly join. We are on 150 days prayer, expecting the arrival of Azuna Mazin and Gam. His appearance this time is going to be marvelous. His appearance this time is going to be marvelous. It's going to be more thunderous than ever. For those of you who think it is all over, it is not yet over. Our Sinamazin is coming back stronger than ever. And this time we are walking into Biafra with our head lifted high. It doesn't matter what they say they will do. We overcome them. Today we will talk about all their propaganda and lies they are pushing in the contraption called Nigeria. A fake country. Some people still call themselves one Nigeria. Some people still promote the issue of one. You see them online shamelessly talking about a country that they did not sign up for. A country that they did not, everything in that country is lie, a bunch of lies and fake. The statistics that we are working with, every statistics you can see in Nigeria are all fake. None is real. They are not existent. In a country where they will tell you that the desert is more populated in the different area, it happens only in Nigeria. In a country where they will draw a map and tell you, when you look at the map, you see that the southern part of Nigeria is just 25%. A big lie. In a country where they will go and construct some states that are not functionable, states that are not viable, states that are not viable, local governments that are not viable, that are not even existing, numbers that don't exist. That is what they are carrying about. An idea that was given to the Janjaweed by the British. They are carrying that idea, subjugating everybody and trying to take everything that we own and make their own, including our land. including our own life. And today, here we are. Thank God for Sula Mazi Nankan, who has woken people up. And everything he has spoken of from 2015 to date, they are now here happening before your own very eyes. Happening before your own very eyes. When he was saying it, people thought it was a joke he was playing. Nigeria is not a country. It is a company. And this company called Nigeria has expired. It has expired long ago. Even the colonial master, the British who concocted this evil, said that after 100 years that we should come back and decide if we'll be together or not. The 100 years have expired years ago. Yet, the Fulani Janjaweed do not want to come to the table because the evil is favoring them. They have plundered the southern part of Nigeria, taken away every wealth in the southern part of Nigeria to enrich themselves. They can't even use their own knowledge to harness the mineral resources in their own area. The gold that they have found in their own area, they export it by themselves, they take it by themselves and for themselves, for some particular individuals. Even their poor masses cannot lay their hand on their wealth. You see Zamfara gold. Individuals are mining the gold, sending it abroad for their own purpose. With a jet coming all the way from Britain to come and take the gold and go. This is happening in northern part of Nigeria. This is how corrupt and devilish they are. And Muhammadu Buhari is part of that gold deal. The so-called Mr. Integrity. It is happening before your own very eye. Evil everywhere. They come and talk about democracy. You see them preaching about democracy. When you see them talking about democracy, you think they know what they're talking. They know nothing about democracy. They know nothing about democracy. Here, Muhammadu Buhari, what he was saying in the past.
This country is insecure. This country is getting bankrupt. And it's mainly because of corruption and incompetence. What the APC is out is to make sure that we stabilize this system of multi-party democratic system by voting the PDP out.
This same man that said this now today happened to be in power. He couldn't be able to change anything. He couldn't be able to do anything. He said everything got worse until he died. And people now are using his name to still perpetrate that evil that he has. The script that he has written, they are still playing that script that late Muhammad Buhari have written down. They are still playing the script. And that is what is going on before your own very eye today. They talk about democracy. You think as if they know nothing that has to do with democracy. They don't know anything that has to do with democracy. All they know is criminality. That is what the Fulani Janjaweed knows. And they are so corny that they will paint themselves innocent. You think that they are dealing with a human being, not knowing that they are dealing with the devil. That is what they did to the Hausas. The Hausas embraced them and thinking that they were dealing with human beings. They succeeded in killing all the leaders of the Hausas, eliminate them. And today, they no longer ask of Hausa. They are now coming open to declare themselves as Fulani, being a major stakeholder in the contraption called Nigeria, a country that they do not belong to. They are now claiming it. They have succeeded up to the extent of having their people in the presidency, in Asoro, in everywhere, governors everywhere, who are Fulanis. And you see them speaking boldly in national television, claiming what is not theirs. And nobody is doing anything. Nigeria has no democracy. What is practicing in Nigeria is government of the thief for the thief and for the criminals. Criminality, that is what is happening in Nigeria. That is what is happening in Nigeria. And it is getting worse and worse. It is getting worse. It was even a little bit better. When it was even a little bit better, the so-called Tinubu, who is now with the terrorist party, said he doesn't believe in Nigeria. But surprisingly, that person who doesn't believe in Nigeria, when Nigeria was even a little bit better, today believes in Nigeria, even want to be the president of the country because he has stolen a lot for himself. He wants to do everything possible to protect his loot. That is where we find ourselves. When I was in the mass, they cannot talk of the mind of a black man don't pity himself. All they know is their stomach. They don't care about tomorrow. They just struggle for what to eat today and they never think about reserving for their children. Go and check everybody that have ruled that country, Nigeria. All those people they are calling their founding fathers, where are their children? Have you ever asked yourself, these people they are calling their founding fathers, where are their children? Where are the children of your so-called founding fathers? That is to show you how demented a black man is, how wicked they are. They consume their time, consume the time of their children. They leave a bad legacy that their children cannot be able to even compete in anything anymore. They use their own style and the style of their children and make sure that they cannot operate. That is why today you see a man of 80 years old running for presidency instead of supporting his own child. You see a man of 80 years old running for governor. You see a senator of 80 years old. You see an ambassador 80 years old. That's the country that will never survive. And we cannot be part of it. This is one reason why we should be out. This is one reason why we should be. It is getting worse. And it will get worse. It will get worse. That's why we have to get out of this very nonsense before it is too late. And before we go on, I want to share with you a video of a discussion that was made in AIT on the issue of democracy in Nigeria. How successful they have been and the way forward. You can see from what they are saying, even though they try to be politically correct, but what you will get out from what they're saying is that Nigeria can never ever work. As the day goes by, it will get worse. That is what will happen. Watch the AIT discussion.
The International Day of Democracy. I said to us in the prologue about the history of the day. 2007, the UN General Assembly, reached that consensus with other countries of the world that we must celebrate democracy. How was democracy fared across the world, in Africa, and in Nigeria? So we'll be zeroing in on this conversation this evening. I have in the studios from my immediate right here, Mr. Alexander Onoja, a public affairs commentator. Thank you for coming on the program.
I'm assist Onoja Alexander.
Oh, good. That's your profession. Thank you for coming on. And I also have in the studio with me Professor Samson Shaibu. He's the head of department, mass communication at Bingham University near Abuja. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program.
Happy to be here.
Also in the studio is Austin Aigbe. Austin Aigbe is a programs manager at the Center for Democracy and Development. Austin, thank you for joining us. I'll be having joining us virtually Dr. Daniel Abba from Makurdi. Yes, Dr. Daniel is right there. You can see him on your screen. He will also be contributing to the discussion all the way from Makurdi, the capital of Benue State. So let's start the conversation in the studios here, and let me begin with pharmacist Alexander Onoja. Mr. Onoja, in our prologue, we mentioned the fact that democracy is making progress, but there are certain ingredients, as the UN Secretary General has said, that we must ensure do not suffer. The freedom of expression, the freedom of the press, the rule of law, freedom to associate. Now, let's come from the global perspective. What's your appraisal of how the world has fared thus far?
Yeah, let me say that the blessing of the Internet of Things and big data has given room to a robust freedom of speech. And I think that is complementary to the entire ecosystem of democratization world over. Because now you can freely say whatever you want to say at any time. So the voiceless now have been heard. So it's a plus, I must say. So technology is driving democratization. And I think to that extent is a plus all over the world. And the level of education, enlightenment, which is ongoing, is cascading through the entire universe, down to the Arab world, even to the so-called core previous communist setting. You see that technology has been able to bring the world close. And the dictate of contemporary design is democracy. And if you narrow it down to Nigeria, I can give Nigeria a plus. Since 1999, you see a system that has consistently given back to a civilian rule over time without the truncation of the barrack
by the soldiers.
Yes, so that's a robust democracy. That shows when you narrow it down to Nigeria, you can say that Nigeria is on a very good pedestal, because since 1999 there's been consistent civilian rule to another civilian.
You made mention about technology. Well, we'll get to that in the discussion, because at the moment in this country, Twitter has been banned. The Minister of Information spoke about it after today's federal cabinet meeting, but we'll get to that in the course of the conversation. Let me bring in Professor Shaibu. Prof, the issues about free speech. You're a professor of mass communication. Aside being an academic, you've also extensively practiced, rising to the level of the Director General of one of the key, state-owned radio networks. Would you say that there's free speech in this country as we speak?
Yeah, I want to start by saying that my generation that has seen it all will not paint a picture of ease and tranquility in the face of our problems now turned calamity. To answer your question, I will say that it is good to know where we are coming from and where we are now, since amalgamation in Nigeria without integration. Now, in the First Republic, there was an attempt for freedom of speech after the colonial regime. That was followed by different regimes that were practicing kakitocracy and garrison democracy. That is an aberration to what the UN formula is giving us. So, to answer your question, whether there is freedom of speech, we have a long way to go in answering that question, because the freedom of speech has been battered, it has been traumatized from developments that are going on in our nation.
Okay, Samson, rather Austin Aigbe of the CDD. Austin, your organization has been looking at what we're doing in this country in terms of democracy and development. Has Nigeria reached where it ought to be democratically? Talking about issues of elections, let's take that with you.
I think, very importantly, elections are one fundamental in a democracy. It's an opportunity to choose who you want to govern you. Like many people will argue that people deserve the kind of government they get. So, which means we queue up on election day and we elect those in quote, even though we now have a militarization of the electoral process, so that we are not able to categorically state with every voice that those who emerge in elections are actually those who the people deserve to govern them. We are not where we want to be, but we are not where we used to be. We need to look at where we were in 1999. There is a snowball. We've got to a point, when you have like 5 steps forward, you move 10 steps backward. We are not making concerted effort to building our democracy. The Nigerian democracy outside the civilian rule, that we have a civilian authority over the affairs of government. We cannot really say that we enjoy the fundamentals of democracy. But we are not where we used to be, because we used to have free speech was non-entity. But even though free speech is also attacked now, we cannot compare with what we used to have. So there's a trajectory. We are moving somewhere, but it is a pity that we are not getting to where we are going. We kept making steps ahead and making steps backward.
Okay, now let's talk about the issues about elections a little more. You saw in the news segment of the program, new electoral commissioners coming on board to complement those are already there to ensure the process is foolproof, credible, viable, and trustworthy by the citizenry, by the electorate in this instance. Mr. Noja, as a public affairs analyst, do you think what you're seeing portends some good fortunes for our electoral process in 2023? Almost a full complement by the time these ones are sworn in. We're told by the INEC National Commissioner in charge of information that another 2 electoral commissioners, national, will be sworn in, and they'll have a full complement to ensure the affairs of the electoral body are smooth.
I think what we are doing in Nigeria now is to, as much as possible, try to domesticate democracy. The problem we have is this transplant of Western liberal democracy on our system in the past. So we need to understand that we are in a popular democracy, and we must domesticate domesticate democracy, to fashion democracy to align with our aspiration. If you look at other climes, they try to rubber stamp and copycat what happens in the Western world. But today in Nigeria, if you look at the trajectory, we are beginning to look at the fact that yes, there is a benchmark for democracy. But we have
credible elections.
Yes, credible elections. I mean, you see, the problem we used to have in the past is, if you see the Europeans do a particular thing, we want to copy. And that's why it's popularly said that even in the era of globalization, we must look at what kind of globalization do we need in Africa. So sometimes it is imperative, looking at our intrinsic nature as Africans, to carve a democracy that befits us. I'll give you an example. Libya of blessed memory, Gaddafi, he got to a point, he said he has the best kind of democracy, because when you talk about direct democracy, he did a representative democracy to the grassroots.
How about to the top office? He didn't do that. He stayed put since 1969.
Well, it depends on how you look at it, but his people were faring very well then. You know, there's this kind of stereotype. Anything from Africa is always like that. You understand? But at when he was there, his people were faring very well. But where's Libya today?
But he didn't give them the freedom. We can't discountenance the fact that the people of Libya were strangulated in terms of their rights. These are facts that are out there.
Well, that is also in context, because you need to ask from the people of Libya about their own democracy then, because I know then a child that is yet born in Libya had a house of his own, and they were today. What is the democracy that we're trying to give to Libya? Can you see it compared to what it used to be? I think we need to give our African leaders that benefit of doubt. The problem with us in this space, even in our media, is that we are too much in a hurry. America started this paradigm of democracy, and they created the paradigm. Look at when it started, and the people, the observers, were ready to aid them. But you see, what we do there is that we sit at this other side and begin to watch. Oh, he's failing. But I tell you, if our democracy fails, and I know it's not going to fail because we are very optimistic people, we will all fail with it. So even the media has a role to play. And you understand
the role of the media, constitutionally given, is to hold whoever is in government accountable. And that's what the media does.
But if whoever
is in government.
Okay, you see, what I'm trying to point is, let's not be in a hurry. I just talked about Libya democracy, and you can see what Libya was and now. And you are telling me about, at a point, the direct democracy of Libya was very representative to the grassroots. And that was because Libya knew that Libya is a different country from the United States. The United States is practicing what we call liberal democracy. And we in Africa, we have the mixed economy kind of democracy, which is popular democracy. You cannot pick what is happening in America based on democracy, because the liberal democracy takes you to a level where you begin to see some things that are foreign to Africans. So if you just pick them and you drop them here, it will never work.
But there are some key elements with regards to democracy. Let me bring in Professor Shaibu. Professor Shaibu, the issue about the rule of law, no matter the democracy, no matter the kind of democracy any country practices, there are set rules, and this must be played up.
Exactly.
How has it been on the continent? Then you can zero in on to Nigeria.
Let me say this. All good democratic systems are rooted in systems that are sustainable, systems that stand the test of time, systems that are objective, systems that are user-friendly. I don't subscribe to this issue of homegrown democracy, because all democratic institutions must be built on systems. For example, the rule of law is a very key factor in the building of democracy. And freedom of the press has been enshrined has been told, is one of the fundamentals of democracy. Now you go back again, you look at the kingdoms that have made Nigeria a country of today. Kanem Borno Kingdom, Hausa Fulani Kingdom, Igala Kingdom, Nupe Kingdom, Igbo Kingdoms, and so on. They have no antecedents of democracy. These are systems that are rooted in autocracy, rooted in arbitrariness. And when you begin to say that Africans are being given the benefit of doubt, you are building your democratic systems on the shaking sands of time. Now, why is America growing and thriving today? Because their democracy is rooted in systems. Now, to go back in the history of Nigeria, you remember when IDB was on the throne, he created...
In office, rather, sir.
In office, yes. You know, the throne is prophetic because right from amalgamation without integration, we have been having leaders that are enthroned. And that's why they behave the way they do. So in IDD era, you discover that he built the democratic, what's that name again?
City. Yeah.
Center for Democratic Study. This is how to build a system. But because there's lack of continuity in governance, they break the walls of systems. And what you have is sporadic democracy that has no base, that has no theory. If you look, for example, we are in AIT now, your structure here is rooted in the foundation. What's the foundation of our practice of democracy in Nigeria today? In those days, when we were in primary school, there is what we call the incorruptible judge. I read it and I got so excited about good, that's a great one. Today, our democratic institutions have destroyed the judiciary. They have destroyed the press. They have destroyed the rule of law. And they have destroyed parliamentary separation of powers. Is that the democracy that the founding fathers built for us? The answer is no. And then we should look at our patronizing pictures of tranquility and then address the problem where it is. And Shola, let me tell you this. I came to this program to fulfill, just to make AIT happy, because
to speak to Nigerians.
We have spoken so much in this country and there are no results. For example, I through my Zuma echoes, when I was in service, it was on FRCN for over many years. All the problems have been addressed, but our leaders, both past and present, were they listening? The answer is no. And I want to show you something. In 2015, we came together as a small group to float an NGO called Vision Pathways for Greater Nigeria Initiative. And we came up with a project literature. And we started from where we were in history and where we are going. And we discovered and gave the key for our fundamental development as a country. And we have sold the idea to regimes before Jonathan, President Jonathan.
Administrations, preferably.
Yes, exactly. Those regimes, none of the regimes are ready to listen to alternative solutions to our problems.
So that area of the freedom of, right to hold your opinion and for others to have their views and says, in your own view, this has not been taken into consideration.
It has not.
Okay, let me bring in from Makurdi, Dr. Daniel Abba. Dr. Daniel Abba, thank you so much for being patient as we join you. Dr. Abba, you've listened as well to those who have made contributions in the studio. Is democracy flourishing in the world, in Africa? Then you zero in on Nigeria. Can you hear us? Okay, it appears you may need to unmute if you haven't unmuted your system. Okay, we can't seem to get the doctor. Let's come back to the studio. Once we get him, we'll give him an extended time to join the conversation. Okay, so Mr. Igbe, Prof has raised the issue of that it seems the process and the rule of law is not where it ought to be. I don't want us to zero in on just one administration, because oftentimes, it's about saying, okay, what we're seeing now is what we should talk about. Maybe we'll take it from when we started this civilian dispensation, 1999. Can you talk about what the various administrations have done in terms of the rule of law?
Okay. You see,
I like to try to zero in on democracy. And when Prof was talking about all of the various kingdoms in Nigeria and making it look more of an authoritarian regime or whatever it may be called, there are other ethnic groups in this country that operate democracy. You may not call it democracy. That's why I wouldn't subscribe that Mogopak was the first person who saw the river Niger. Of course not. That somebody in the United States defined democracy that we now use as some fundamental definition does not mean that was the system. So, elsewhere, or before the so-called democracy that came to Africa or Nigeria, you had a village square where people make decisions. We had a primordial culture where people decide their own affairs.
In which of the ethnic groups do you find that really?
I can tell you, I can zero in with the Southeast.
Yeah, that's the fullest. Yes, we know about the Southeast, but so, amongst the other 300
no. I said, yeah, that's what I'm saying, that there are authoritarian regime across the area, but even the area like the Benin Kingdom, even though you are the Oba, but decisions are taken at the village square. However, the Oba is the king. Don't forget that the British regime is also like the Benin Kingdom. You had the Queen of England who is now elected.
But they changed that in the 17th century.
No, it still tells the Prime Minister what to do.
At which stage?
Till date.
No, there are certain. If you look at the British,
I know, you're looking at the norm. You're looking at the norm. Yeah. You're looking at the norm. When there are visitors coming in, or let me just use Boris Johnson, before, with the Brexit crisis and all that. If you read in between those conversations, ideas, it will run to the Queen to seek advice. Well, let's talk about politics, because it does exist. And elsewhere, I can't remember one of these countries, Australia or so, that had the same model. What we say in democracy, again, with all due respect, from 1999 to date, like I said, we made giant stride. We keep making step backward and all of that. Look at President Obasanjo, who thought it was the best for Nigeria. He wanted a third term. And suddenly there was anarchy, crisis. Then he said, okay, if you didn't give me, if I don't get third term, I'm going to give someone who apparently, with all that we know, this individual that President Obasanjo was giving, may not be able to run the affairs of Nigeria health-wise, but he became president. And all of the crises that happened, even though I still respect Musa Yar'Adua, he said the election that brought Musa Yar'Adua, he said the election that brought me to bear
was flawed.
That I was going to strengthen the architecture.
And he put that process in place.
Put it in place.
Set up the waste committee.
The waste committee that brought about certain reform that we are still struggling to achieve.
So you've passed the buck in the lap of others who came after Mr. Yar'Adua.
So when President Jonathan became president, Vice President became president, you expect that those reforms goes in. By now we would have had a democratic architecture in this country that we don't need to. You're asking pharmacists a question about those appointed to any. You don't need men and women. We need systems. You don't need, whether it's Professor Mahmoud Yakubu as chair. No, you need systems that makes things work, and that's what Prof was trying to allude to at the beginning. If the system of electoral architecture in this country is fixed in a way that whether you are the mighty guy, whether you are XYZ, you fit yourself into the system. Again, back to the US model. Ordinarily, Trump will be president for life, but the system kept him, and all of the militarization of Trump were kept by the system. But here in this country, one individual can undermine a whole system, and it doesn't care. We cannot begin to run democracy like that. And the future of democracy in Nigeria actually gives us some level of concern. However, President Buhari has said he will also correct the ills of the electoral system. We hope by by 2023 that there will be a democratic regime, an electoral system that is very free from an opaque system. However, I want to give it to INEC at this material time. The introduction of technology into our electoral system is the way to go. That one individual does not mobilize the security architecture of this country in its or our favor.
I think he said something that
we'll need to take, we'll come back to you. And of course, Dr. Daniel, bringing us back to the issue of, freedom of speech. Pharmacist Ono just said the fact that, look, that's one of the key elements, and that it's something we need to play up. Let me come to Pharmacist Onoja. Pharmacist Onoja, you were trying to make that point, but I want to take you back to this issue, because this is a key element in a democracy: the right to hold opinion, the right to speak through what you said, any form of technology. Are you of the view that the issue about Nigerians' access to Twitter, do you think we should have resolved that long time ago? Do you think the government needs to follow through on the process so that the issues about libel, abuse, and what we see on Twitter should be just probably looked into?
Yeah, I think every country has a model. That I still believe, and the base of every democratization is to ensure that you work within the confines of your sovereignty for the benefit of your people. So I want to believe that as much as possible, the government should try as much as possible to be responsive to the yearnings of the people. Yes, of course, there's always a time lag for everything. I think the time has come for people to be heard, because it's when people are heard. But that's why I want to lean on the fact that he said something, the last speaker.
That's Aibe. Austin Aibe.
Which got me interested. He said there should be responsiveness to the wish and aspiration of the people, and that there shouldn't be this adamant kind of attitude. When a section is speaking out loud, especially through a civil process, placing their demands and their agitations.
Yes. Issue of marginalization.
Yes.
Perceived.
Well, you call it perceived, but he who feels it knows it. So, for instance, like the ongoing North Central Renaissance movement.
That's the group for which I remember.
Which I am a member. We are not the type that want to take up violence, because we believe in democratization. And you see, in the last few days, we've been in the media space because we want other Nigerians to hear us out, that we have been politically marginalized, even though we form the core of this country. We are at the center. You see Abuja, where you are seated here, AIT is the North Central.
When the North Central Renaissance movement makes these claims of we've been marginalized, some of the people out there will say, but look, hey, this region has produced 3 leaders of this country. Only that region.
Which of the leaders? Which of the leaders?
You know the leaders.
You see, the mistake people do, I think Nigerians need to know something. Nigerians are confusing stratocracy with democracy. And I believe Nigerians should know.
That's another system.
Yes, there's what we call stratocracy. Stratocracy is not democracy. Just like theocracy cannot be democracy. And I'll tell you what is stratocracy. Stratocracy is a system of governance by the army and power. It could be made to look civil as if it's a democracy, but it's not. If you look at Nigerian experience and you want to define stratocracy, you look at the regime of our General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida that made himself a president. That is stratocracy. It's never democracy. So at a point they start confusing this trajectory. As far as democracy is concerned, like I said, from 1999 till date, the North Central is the only center that has been marginalized. If you look at Babangida, you look at
it for the top job? Because you have someone who was a Senate president for 8 years.
We're talking about the executive arm of government. We're talking about the president and the vice president. That, if you look at our community, if you look at all we are saying, we've never had somebody as the top or the second top
in the executive arm.
In the executive arm. When you talk about the Senate president, it is after election, everybody becomes senators, then at a point, the Senate president is decided by the elected arm.
Yes, correct.
So that is a different ballgame. So I want this to be in the mind of every Nigerian from today, that those people you erroneously call middle belt people as practicing democracy were practicing stratocracy, not democracy. Because there is a caveat of the military junta and the military regime, which is different also from stratocracy. So as far as that is concerned, having gotten the fact that no North Central has benefited in this democracy, which I told you started in 1999. And you see, I told you earlier that Nigeria is beginning to enjoy that elongation of a democracy, and I was giving it to Nigeria.
Which is a plus to everybody.
Which is a plus. And within this confine of the plus that we are enjoying, we in the North Central have not had a share. Imagine if you have 6 children.
Do you know what I want?
6 children.
If you remember in the news segment,
yes,
we had the caucus of the National Assembly, that's all the senators, House of Reps members from the Southeast at that meeting, also talking about marginalization, deprivation and all that. Let me bring in Prof. Prof, these issues of marginalization, some people say if you cut up the whole place, you know, some people are requesting. I was at national conference as a correspondent. Eventually when they finished there, I was just a journalist. You know, different, I think it's in about 22 states, if I remember the figure, carving out empires for almost every ethnic group. How will we address the issues of marginalization?
I want to start by saying that the sing-song of marginalization is a product of narrow identity politics. As long as we continue with narrow identity politics in Nigeria, we will not get anywhere. I'll give you an example. Hausa. I'm not Hausa. The Hausa race is the most marginalized race in this country. I'm from North Central or Middle Belt. I'm not going to sing that song. Nigerians are in need of a performing and dividend of democracy giving leader. We should stop talking the language of marginalization and begin to build systems that will make the people reap the benefits of dividends of democracy. Look at the area of our information, for example, information or freedom of speech and so on. Look at the terrain. No system for public information in Nigeria. For example, in ideal democracies, you must have a country that has national information or public information policy. Nigeria has none. They are operating in the vacuum. You must have a country that has a state information policy. Which state of Nigeria has an information policy or public information policy? None.
Prof, let me allow you to just pause there. You know, issues about marginalization. You know, the group, the Middle Belt Renaissance Group.
No, not Central.
Not Central, rather. Okay, so there are 2 different things.
After watching from AIT, you can see that obviously the only solution to that very country called Nigeria is a breakup. Nigeria, being the most populated black African nation in the world, has nothing to put in your table. Instead, it has brought death and destruction. So stop bothering us with that. Nigeria diversity is the reason why Nigeria can never work. That is why there is killing in Nigeria today. That diversity is where many people have lost their life and more are going to lose their life, and war is about to happen in Nigeria because of diversity. So stop peddling the rumor of diversity. It is not for our own benefit. The only thing to do to save life is to break it up. We go our separate ways. If we decide to communicate together, marry together, intermarry, be friendly, do business together, we can equally do it. If we don't want it, we'll be on our own. But for us to be forced together in a marriage that we never signed up to, you are calling for doom, you are calling for anarchy, and you are calling for war. it will definitely come if nothing's been done. For those of us who are calling for the breakup of that country called Nigeria, we are only calling for savior of, we are the savior of the country, trying to save the country from war. The only thing that can save the country from war, going into another civil war, is a breakup. When you break it up, you break the interest, everybody will go their separate way. Those who want to practice, have a caliphate will have their caliphate. Those who want a secular system will practice a secular system. That is the only way out. Anything short of that, you are wasting your time, and you are only preparing yourself for death to come. You are only waiting for your own turn to die. Mazen Nandekano have said it all. He laid the foundation, and we have to follow that foundation. If you go contrary to any other thing and try to do anything to talk about your one Nigeria, you are only planning for your death. That is why we say there will be no election anymore in the southeastern part of Nigeria. No more election. It doesn't matter how you try to play it. It doesn't matter the propaganda you play. There will be no more election. And this time we are not boycotting. There will be no more election. Because every election you are conducting is to make us sign up for our death. We are not ready to die anymore. We want to be alive. To hand over a nation to our own unborn children. That is what we plan to do. There will be no election in Anambra State. There will be no election in any Igbo land. Enough is enough. The only vote that will be cast in the southeastern part of Nigeria is a referendum vote. That is what we want. A referendum for us to decide our fate. We are not calling for war, but if you bring war, we are not going to run away. You will kill us, we will kill you. At the end of the day, Biafra will come. Biafra will emerge. May Chukwu Kabe continue to bless us in the Nadikano. May Chukwu Kabe continue to strengthen us in the Nadikano. May Chukwu Kabe give him good health, give him strength, grant him more revelation so that he can give out word and we will move forward into Biafra happily, stronger than ever. Thank you so much for watching wherever you are watching from, and remember blessed. Bye bye. See you again on the next video.